Louder. Louder.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the celebration of life's birth.
Hey.
Reider. On behalf of his family, Maria, wife of 21 years,
and their daughters, Andrea, Jennifer, and Leslie. In opening, I'd like to read some scriptures that were selected by the family. In John 14, it says, "Don't be troubled. Trust in God and trust in me. There are many rooms in my Father's house. I would not tell you this if it were not true. I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And after I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back. And then I will take you with me so that you can be with me." John 11:25 says, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die." Can you hear me all right? This is coming through here. In Romans 8 says, "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or the sword? Knowing all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord." And finally, there's a special Old Testament prayer that I'd like to say over the family. And it goes like this: "May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord show you his kindness and have mercy on you. And may the Lord watch over you and give you peace." Now I'd like to introduce you Dan and Eric.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. You know, I don't remember the first time I met Mike, but I remember the first time I noticed him. We were at El Toro High School in the early 1980s. He was a junior at the time, and I was a sophomore. I spotted him tagging along with a couple of guys from my circle of friends, and wondered, who the heck is this guy? Why haven't I seen him before? You see, back then, you need to have pretty lofty credentials to be part of our crew, or low standards, depending on who was judging us. And we didn't let just anybody through our door. Turned out Mike was a new kid on campus, having recently moved from Atlanta. I can only imagine how traumatic it must be on a 16-year-old social life to move from one region of the U.S. to another. But not for Mike, not with his personality. Mike made such a great first impression, I'm pretty sure he's offered every job he ever interviewed for. And I can count several times he talked himself out of traffic tickets. Mike used to joke that the first group of friends he made at El Toro High were total nerds. The second group were a little too preppy for him. And the third always seemed to be one tardy away from getting booted out to continuation school. Ultimately, it was Rick Cozzapoli, who's here tonight, who met Mike through a neighborhood friend and brought him into our circle. It didn't take Mike long to impress us with his one-liners, his love for heavy metal music, his athleticism, and one of the best left hooks in the South Black Valley. And I have the scars to prove it. Over the years, I had the honor of being the best man in Mike and Maria's wedding, the godfather to his youngest daughter, Leslie, and most importantly, a close friend for 30 years. He was extremely intelligent, unbelievably entertaining, and seemed to have an opinion about everything. I I've never been one to enjoy talking on the phone for very much, but Mike and I were like bored housewives. Talking almost daily, sometimes for an hour or so. There was nothing off limits between us, and I mean nothing. We mostly bragged about our children, talked about our marriages, and rehashed some of the crazy experiences we had together. And we had enough of those to fill a Sears catalog. I like to talk Mike into going on road trips with me. Number one, he always wanted to drive. Number two, his gift for gab made a 6-hour road trip seem like 45 minutes. 23 years ago, I somehow talked Mike into going on a trip to Lake Havasu with me to attend a bachelor party for a guy he never met. We had enough money to pay for gas, and Mike brought along a package of assorted lunch meat. And that was going to be our rations for the weekend. That was all we left with. That was all we had when we left town. But Mike trusted that we'd have a good time. And it turns out we had the best weekend we ever had together. After that, it became a lot easier to talk Mike into coming on road trips with me. Twice I convinced him to accompany me to Tucson so I could visit my oldest son at the University of Arizona. The second time we went, and this is when Mike and I were 40 years old, we went to a football game between Arizona and UCLA. The Bruins were undefeated and ranked pretty high at the time, but Arizona destroyed them. Me and Mike were sitting in the student body section, and as the final minutes ticked down, it was pretty clear all the students were going to rush the field around us and try to take down the goalpost. Mike and I looked each other in the eye and nodded. We were all in. So when the gun sounded, we jumped around and we rushed onto the field, headed straight for the goalpost, began lifting students on the crossbar, forgetting just how old we were to be doing something like that. Those are the reasons I love Mike. He never lost that youthful spirit, carrying it with him right up until his final hours. The last time I talked Mike into going somewhere with me was last August. I had a riding assignment out in San Bernardino. I thought I'd enjoy this campground I found up in the mountains. Truth is, I knew I'd have a lot of downtime while I was out there. I needed Mike to keep me entertained. As usual, it took some convincing, but he showed up. I took care of my business that night. Then we headed back to the campsite. Sat down at a picnic table in complete darkness and just talked for the next 5 or 6 hours. Never even unloading our car, pitching a tent, or starting a campfire. That was Mike. You could have fun with him in complete darkness. We could barely see our hands in front of our face. It was so dark. We just sat there and talked, laughed, drank beer, and shared stories. That might sound boring to some, but that was the best night of camping I ever had. When you're with Mike, all you needed was the ability to speak, listen, have a sense of humor, and you're guaranteed to have a good time. I'll never forget those times, and I'll never forget Mike. And we're all very privileged to have known this special person. Thank you. I'd like to introduce his brother Reider and his cousin Joy.
Hey guys, thanks for coming out here. That was just beautiful. Perfect stuff. Now Matt couldn't be here tonight. He's still our little brother Matt. So Joy's got something to read from.
Hi. This is Matt left this for visual for everybody. I swore shut to write this note to try to honor a man that touched many lives. From the early days in Georgia, when Mike excelled in soccer, football, and feathered haircuts, he always brought an energy and spirit to those that surrounded him. From Clarkson High School to Memorial Drive, Mike was a force in the area. The Coles, the Dooleys, the Mitchells, Rockbridge, Oz Records, Brother Rick are some of the things that come to mind. Mike brought the same passion to Southern California when we moved here in the early 80s. He quickly adapted to the new scene and met a group of friends that are here today. I'm sure they would all agree that fun was Mike's middle name. Stories exist from those early days that would make the Hangover movie look tame. El Toro High, Robinson's, Mobile Gas Station, El Moro, the Green Maverick, Chevy Sprint, Balboa Bars, Me and Ed's Pizza, Humboldt, Chico Steak, and getting tossed into the lake many times are some thoughts that I remember sharing with Mike during these years. As Mike matured, chopped his mullet, and settled down, he focused his energy towards marriage and raising his daughters. While there were some peaks and valleys, he did the best he could without any real parental guidance. Looking at his 3 daughters now, both he and Maria should be very proud. I have no doubt that they too will be excellent parents as well. Kern River, San Clemente, soccer games, ballpark pizza, lamppost pizza, Butch the guinea pig, Lucy, and tomato plants are some memories I recall. Mike was a leader, a patriarch, a mentor, and a passionate soul that rarely lost an argument. Most of the time, he was a great husband, uncle, son-in-law, and brother, but he was a great father and friend all of the time. In parting, I would like to thank you all for attending this celebration and ask one favor. Please go out and repair any relationship that you can and don't give up. Parting words are, tears stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. I promise I will learn from my mistakes.
Okay. Mike Reider was my big brother. He was also a brother to Matt and Rick. I never introduced Mike as Matt's brother or Rick's brother or our brother. He was my big brother. And sometimes I wasn't happy about that. Like the time Mike put me up for sale. Mike sold me for a dime. The neighbor returned me citing had been sold a bill of goods. Mike charged a small restocking fee and I was home again with my big brother. And I wasn't happy when Mike shot me either. See, he got me interested in a BB gun war. He even gave me the gun I was going to use. He called it the Battle of Stone Mountain. And I was eager to win because, for one, it's Mike. And shooting first was the act of winning. Then I won. I shot him. But the gun barely shot. And the BB fell and hit him in the toe. So he turned to fire his last shot, but he pumped the gun 3 times with a pellet launcher. And he was experimenting on the effects of pellets on little brothers. It stuck in my collarbone. Shock. Once Mike realized I was telling Mom, he bribed me with everything he owned and told me he would fix it. And I believed him. And he did. He fixed it. He removed the evidence and Mom didn't have any forensic proof of the Battle of Stone Mountain. And I thought I was happy at El Toro High. After all, my brother was a senior. What did I have to worry about? Then I met his friends. And I knew right away it was going to be a long year. Mike and his good buddies had a rite of passage. It involved a surprise attack on the tricep of the arm used to carry your homework. And once the punch was delivered, the homework would go flying. And then all of his friends would kick around the homework like it was a soccer ball in a World Cup match. So that's my big brother, Mike. But I couldn't talk about it without thinking about the fun. Dan, you hit it on the head. Mike redefined the definition of fun. Funny, hilarious. And he pushed the boundaries of fun, the boundaries of life, to get the most life out of get. That's what he taught me and Matt, and sure a lot of you guys as well. One of the best times I can think of, and you were there, the Dodger game. That's right. So we went to the Dodger game with Grandma and Mom and Matt and myself and Mike, and I think no, Calky was there. Thank you, Calky. And we were Braves fans in Dodger Stadium during the pennant race, which is not a good thing. By the third inning, Mike had officially caused the entire stadium to create a human earthquake, stomping their feet, demanding satisfaction, saying, "Throw them out." And my grandma was sure they were talking about us. She was right. They were. Mike had struck again. And I remember listening to the Lakers games with Mike. We would pull off in some parking lot, so it didn't matter where. And a Chevy Sprint, listening to Chick Hearn do Lakers game. It was like we were courtside. We were there, hanging on every pass and basket. And the win was ours. And that was vintage Mike Reed. So Matt and Mike and I, we got to the big game. We went to the World Series, saw the Angels and Giants play. It was game 2. Nothing compares to watching Bonds crank a homer in the ninth. Unless you get to watch that home run standing next to your big brother Mike. And then we grew up. And we became men. And we fell in love. Then we raised our families and found there was more to life than we knew. So we adapted and adjusted and worked hard to raise our children the best we could. And I can tell you, we did a good job. And Miss Mike, I'm blessed to see a smile on your guys' faces. And it tells me you guys got what we all got. That's a little bit of Mike. And that's Mike. I love him and I miss him. That's all. I'm supposed to introduce you. Hold on one second. Okay. Doesn't care. Come on.
All right, I just want to thank you guys all once again for attending today's celebration. And this is a celebration of Michael Reider's life. Girls, okay? You did a great job. We're just getting started. My name is Kimberly, Michael's cousin. I'm actually talking for my mother and father, Uncle Christopher and my mom, Aunt Janice. For Mr. Fun, loving Michael, Mr. Spirit. You shouldn't have the word for Mr. Spirit, literally. I'd just like to begin with going through some, with the grief and unexpected way we're all going through. Maria, you're a martyr, strong. Andrea, Jenny, and Leslie as well, as their daddy would want them to be. Bless you girls. And you take care of mom, just as grandma and grandpa are doing too. And God bless you for being there, taking care of you. So, moving on, I'd like to share some fun stories growing up with Michael, Norman, and Matt, since we were little. We still think we are. Also a story timeline of Michael and Maria getting married and meeting and their wedding. You guys are, I hope you're prepared because these are funny stories with all of the boys. And I have many, I could go on for hours. Correct? Okay. Story number 1, Christmas Eve, which was always at my mom and dad's. Uncle Marv would bring the boys over to my mom and dad's, Chris and Janice. And Marv, you always got picked on. I always thought it was me and Marv, but literally you got picked on a lot. He was so funny. Okay, so we had these chairs that used to spin around, and what Mike would do, we would all be eating, remember we eat black olives, running around the dining room table? Oh, okay, well, wasn't you, it was Matt putting them all on his fingers, Matt. Okay. And Mike would go by and he'd spin the chair around, give him a boogie, and just drop it to the ground. And the word was, I'm so going to get you back. I'm so going to get you back. And then Mike would go, yeah, right, and he'd run out. And then we'd go play football in the street, which ultimately is where I learned to actually throw a great football. Mike was patient with me, but not so much with you and Matt. not so much. And that's just one small story. But moving on, Matt brought up Balboa bars. Balboa is somewhere that Uncle Mark rented a house, and we'd all go to Balboa Island, and we'd get bored, which was normally what we did, because I was always with the boys. I was the only girl with all three boys. Yeah. And we'd get Balboa bars, which is what Matt mentioned. And they were so good, but ultimately Mike decided, you know what, I don't really like this Balboa bar. And he pushed it right in her face, and he went down. He went down, and of course Mike went running, and what was the word again? You're so gonna get it. You're so gonna get this back. And that went on for years. And you know, Mike, you could just never get it back. You can never get it back. He was always one step ahead, trying to pull something over your eyes. And anyhow, moving on, here's a little story when Diane, of course, was alive, the boy's mother. We used to go to the lake. Remember the lake? Plenty, because I know you went in there a couple times. Matt was looking, he thought he could catch a fish, and he was just bent down on the lake, and I was right behind Mike. And of course, what do you think Mike's going to do? You guys use your imagination. He pushed him in. He pushed him right into the lake, and Matt was screaming. And of course, you come walking up behind me, and I'm saying, "Don't get me wet." And you know what you said? "I'm so glad you got it, Matt." And Mike goes, "You're next." And he turned around, he bailed. He just went out. Anyhow, that's just, you know, these are very small stories. And moving on here. Let's see. Well, we have farm wrestling stories. Of course, we went through this again, which somebody else has mentioned. He always wanted to win. And he would let me win. And I knew he could not. I was going to lose, but he would let me win. But I used to beat your butt. Yeah. Me and Maddie had that talk. Yeah. But for Mike always wanted to win. He did. And he was strong. Great personality, always fun, loving. What's new? What more can I say? Just a wonderful man. And I'm so proud that I could be, I'm his cousin, so you're his brother. Okay, moving on. Lastly, when Uncle Marv used to take care of this house in Orange, and I think ultimately, you're older than me, I just got to waiting for that. Yeah. Yeah. We would all just hang out, and the guys and the moms and dads were inside, and we'd get bored. And somebody also said that, I believe it was you, Dan. What did Mike always like to do? Drive. Drive. That's all we wanted to do was drive. And we were always the co-passenger. Why did me and Matt always get stuck in the trunk? And never got that. But anyways, Mike would, he'd drive around the block, and me and Matt, we were kind of bored. We'd sit on the curb, and he'd come by, and you guys would smoke us. And then go by again, and then go around the block. So anyways, Mike actually comes around again. Matt, you're just sitting, Marv, you're just sitting in the car, and you're kind of laughing, and he says, "Get in." And of course, Matt is supposed to pop up off the curb, run to the car, and the windows are down, and Mike proceeds to drive the car with Matt's fingers in there, and the window is going up, and Matt is running with the car, and Mike is just laughing, and you are too. And I'm going, "Stop." And then he did ultimately stop, and then he said, "All right, you kiddies, just get in." That's how Mike was. But he was a big brother to me. I'm an only child, didn't have, but I have my cousins. Boys taught me, you guys taught me a lot of things. The only thing that you guys were able to watch it, but I couldn't watch Benny Hill. I never understood that. What was up with that? I had to go to my room. That was unfair. I had to go to my room. I couldn't even, I had to go to my room. And that would be at my mom and dad's. And my dad would go to your room. And the boys would be out there laughing, and I'd be like, why can't I watch it? Anyhow, moving on. Anyhow, that's basically what I want to say is that, you know, Mike had a wonderful life. He's got beautiful daughters and girls, obviously, which I told you and have many times before, how good you're doing in your life, and that's what your dad would want you to carry forward. And Maria, your wonderful mother, wonderful wife, all the things that you've done, which includes uniforms, clothing, all the things that make sports happen, which was, anybody have a clue out there what was the number one thing Mike liked?
Soccer.
Okay, right. Yeah. So, I'm going to just, wrap this up here and let our Vince go here. Mike and Maria got married in a beautiful church and looked so beautiful. Mike was so happy. They lived in a condo in San Juan, had 2 beautiful daughters apart. Andrea first, then came Jenny, great girl, sweet. Decided to move to Temecula, which became beautiful Leslie. So then, it was, once again, soccer, and school. All the girls, you've excelled. Look where you have come. And you're going to go far in this world. And you have all of us. Everybody in this room is here for a reason. So you can remember that you can always count on any of us to call. And don't forget out there that Maria needs to support you. Don't forget to call her. And you know, she needs something, or maybe a dinner, or so forth. Anyhow, I wanted to move on with the soccer again. That was out. Andrea was the first to start roughing, which apparently she liked very well because she was making some serious dough, right? Yes. And she's good. Well, would you expect anything less? This is my Maria's daughters. Are you kidding me? Seriously. Yeah. And then, of course, Jenny as well. So both roughing and, of course, learning about having money. Yeah, right? So, anyhow, once again, like I said, Maria did a lot of the stuff, the clothes, uniforms. We all have kids that are in sports. It takes a lot of energy, especially the 3 daughters. You guys' just makeup and all your other duties that mom takes care of and so forth. Yes, which we talked about. Anyhow, Maria, you and your girls, Michael Spirit, you have it. You're all extraordinary and strong. We love you. We're here for you. Don't ever forget that. Never take that for granted because we're here. It doesn't matter. I don't care. You can sleep on my porch if you had to. I'll bring you in and take care of you. You want to come over? Anytime. It's open. Girls, of course, Andrea, Jenny, Leslie in that order. Yours as well, as strong and loving, and we'll all stick together. All of us in this room, we all stick together. That's what we're here for. And this is for Mike. Mike would want that, definitely. And once again, I just want to remind you guys is that definitely call Maria, call the girls, see if they need something. And that means a definite thing, you know. And that's about it. Just want to say, Michael was, I think I had a crush on him, and he was my cousin. I seriously did.
Not to let you in, Marcus.
All right, well, lots of love from Dawn, Kimberly, Amanda, Jacqueline, and my mom and dad, Uncle Chris and Aunt Janice. And thank you again for coming. And we're going to move on. Vince for me is going to come up here and enlighten us on something. And I hope it's funny. We all want to laugh. You got some better ones?
I apologize, I might not make it through this. I'm just going to try to make it quick. Good evening. I'm Vince, Mike and Maria's nephew. I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about my Uncle Mike's best qualities. His unconditional love and pride for all 3 of his daughters, Andrea, Jennifer, and Leslie, of which he loved equally, never taking sides or being unfair, as far as I know. You guys might disagree with me. His unwavering sense of humor, which never missed a beat, rain or shine, and lastly, his down-to-earth approachability. You truly could talk to Mike about anything. He was always willing to listen to a problem you were having and give a fresh perspective on it, as well as some much-needed comic relief. His sense of humor was second to none. I can honestly say that he was the funniest man I've ever met in my entire life, and probably will ever know. Uncle Mike was the kind of guy you wanted next to you during a boring family function or a long drive. The time was sure to pass with good old Uncle Mike by your side. I used to tell him he missed his calling in life because he should have been a stand-up comedian. Lastly, but certainly not least, I want to talk about the love Mike had for his family. One of my favorite things was listening to Mike talk about how much he loved my Aunt Maria and the story of how they met working at Robinson, Maine. When Mike talked about his wife Maria, the comedic tone left, and I can always tell how much he loved her. This also rings true for when Mike talked about his children. He was a true, proud father. He had become like a father to me in many ways, and he was proud of me, but that never compared to him touting his girls, his 3 winner chicken dinners, as he called them, as he referred to them. When I gave him a hard time, he would say, come back and talk to me when you have 3 winners. I have always joked about it being unfair that I had 2 sisters and no brothers. Well, God must have had a sense of humor because now I have 5 sisters. 3 more just got added to the list. So, Andrea, Jennifer, Leslie, if you had, your dad made me promise him that I will look after you guys. So if you ever have a problem, you know where to find me. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I'd like to introduce Brett Bassett.
Listening to all these stories, just it's tough. If I had to get somebody to do a speech for me, I would call Mike to come up here and stand up. It is funny listening to all these stories because I put together thoughts of Mike. I knew him these last few years, and I knew what I think of Mike is, other than a father and a husband, is what a great salesman he was. Hearing all these stories of him growing up, that was like his training ground, and he took it into the sales world, and I mean, he just killed it out there. He spent a lot of years working for a company that used to fly him around the country and speak to groups of people this big and bigger. That's how good he was. And that's a rare quality. There's not that many people around that can do stuff. And I had a lot of respect for him because of that. He definitely took over a room. One of the favorite stories, and I think he told me this one 3 or 4 times because I think it's one of his favorite stories too. He worked for an abrasives company, so they sold saw blades, nasty industrial type saw blades. He had to go, and he had to go speak to a fire station, and it was going to be like over 100 firefighters. So here he is, he's nervous, all these manly men standing in front of him, he's going to demonstrate how great these saw blades are. And what he had to do was cut a car in half. And he didn't get to practice, because the company wasn't going to buy him an extra car to practice on. So he had to get up there and do it with no practice, jump up and cut a car in half. And me and Mike with his training that he obviously had growing up, pulled it off with flying colors, got the contract, pat on the back, on to the next one. That was just one of the, like I said, told me that one a lot of times. Always had a story to tell. Sometimes he would call me just out of the blue just to tell me a story. And it was usually never short. It was always having long conversations, because a few of you guys have mentioned. Sometimes if I knew I hadn't have the time, and I picked up his phone calls. Everything he did was just love you to laugh, have a good time. Always had comedians on his DVR. Watched lots of Jim Gaffigan, Tosh, turned me on to Louis C.K. personally. South Park, and of course his favorites was always Saturday Night Live and Will Ferrell. And he had the whole library. It was amazing. Things he would pull out that you've never seen before, never heard of before. And we just laughed so hard. It was always about laughing, I got a chance to hang out with him just a couple weekends ago, and that's exactly what we did. It's going through his YouTube playlist and showing me Will Ferrell stuff that nobody in this room has probably ever seen and ever found or took the time to find on YouTube. But that's what he did. That was the couple Saturdays ago. I got to watch Sam Kinison and flashback to the 80s and all that good stuff. Even with the house full of girls, he was definitely a guy's guy. Definitely, a sports fan, soccer. He had his East Coast and his West Coast. The Hawks, the Falcons, the Braves, but he was still a fan of the Lakers and the Chargers, so that's where I could hang out. But even through that, even though he was so man, I just will never forget that he did have to admit that he had a man crush on Justin Timberlake. He was into, obviously, pop culture and politics and conspiracy theories. Anybody got a chance to talk that kind of stuff with him? But man, he would talk over my head. And sometimes I just had to go, okay, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like the 9/11 conspiracy, inside job, those kinds of things. It's just the life of the party always. Whenever we were together, he always took over the room. He had such a good heart. Recently, I had to move, and I knew who I was going to call to, help me out with this lovely chore. And of course, he said, "When are we doing it? I'll do it." And I just abused him for 2 days, and he never complains. It was just fun. It was a fun movie, even though it was just horrible stuff. Everybody knows how fun that is. He was just good at everything that he did. He was obviously a great friend with a good heart. An incredible father, husband, was a great referee. I'll never forget Mike. I want to end it on, I found a quote from Dr. Seuss that I thought was somewhat appropriate for this. I'm a fan of Dr. Seuss. I've read it many times over the years. And he says, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." That's it. Connections here, but I can't mention.
I'm going to take this back, so I'm sorry. You're loading the tissue. I had the pleasure of knowing Mike for about 10 years. In 2004, I was the director of referees for the soccer league, and I coordinated all the referee classes, and Mike attended one of my clinics. I was really fortunate to meet him. He came up to me after he took his test, and he was so proud that he had passed his test, and he was like, "Just work me to death. I'll work whenever you want. I'll do little kids, big kids, just work me." And so I did, and I sent him over to John Blanche Stadium in Temecula, and I put him on the line doing assistant referee. That's the one that holds the flag. And I think it was a boys' game. It was probably 14 or 15-year-olds, so it was an upper level, And he maybe did a couple games that day, but he called me later that night, and he said, "I just want to let you know, my partner," and I was telling Kevin, I can't remember who it was, twisted his ankle or threw his back out or something happened. He said, "But don't worry about it. I took care of it. I got his whistle, and I went right in the middle, and I finished the game." Because I was just calling you to give you a warning that you might be getting a phone call. Or two. I think you're going to protest my game. I said, "Mike, that's going to be one of the many angry coaches you're going to have over your referee career." And then it might have been the next year, I think, or maybe the next season when the girls came to the clinic. I'm not sure if you guys came at the same time, but I think it was the next season around. Mike brought his daughters to go to the referee clinic, and they were 10 and 12, if I'm correct, right? 10 and 12, Jenny and Andrea. And he sat with them through the whole clinic, watched them take their tests, and came up to me afterwards and thanked me and thanked me and thanked me so much for giving his daughters, because they were so young, giving them a chance to referee. I don't know where I was going to use them, but he again said, "Just work them to death. Put them on whatever games you want. I'll protect them." And so I did right away. I put them in the rec soccer games. I think they went in the 8 and under, or U8, I think it's called. And I put them in the center so they can handle it. And we were at Monte Vista Elementary School, and it was 200 degrees outside, it was so hot. And he said, just work them all day. And I went home and I left him there with you guys. I think maybe watched a couple games, and he called me right away and told me how great you guys did. And one of you might have even thrown a coach out, I don't know. He was just so proud of you guys. And then the high school soccer season came around, and I had reffed for a few years in the Long Beach area. And so when I really got here, I started reffing again in high school. And Mike was an easy sell when I tried to talk him into coming to ref high school soccer. He's like, absolutely, I'm coming with you, sign me up. So I got Mike, and I got Kevin, and I got Dave Stewart, and I got Sean Singleton, and we all carpooled out to Colton, I think, right? And we went to the high school meeting, and I was so popular that night because I brought a car full of brand new, fresh meat. They were so thrilled, and it's funny because the three guys that I mentioned, Kevin, Dave, and Sean, they continued to referee and do a lot of high-level games, and they would always come with their shirts so sharp and their shirts tucked in, and they were always so prepared with their equipment and their bags. And I mean, Kevin brought his bag today. That's how prepared he was. Yes, but Mike, he didn't always come so prepared. His shirt always had remnants of a Miguel's Jr. burrito on it. Always. And his shorts were so faded, they didn't even look black. They were like green, I think, or yellow, or and he always had to borrow someone's whistle or someone's watch or someone's flags. He was always missing something. One time he even forgot his cleats. We were in, I would take the girls and Mike, we would go to Palm Springs, and we would referee for the rec league, and they were always my favorite group to take along because, I got 3 and 1 out of that deal. And we started loading the car, and Mike realizes he forgot his cleats at home. And we were scheduled to get started in an hour. So I jump in the car, and I'm racing up and down the streets of Palm Springs, and I'm looking for a sports shop anywhere I can find cleats, or black tennis shoes for that matter, and I find a little soccer shop, and the only size they had were the ugliest possible cleats. They were the brightest, shiniest cleats ever, and Mike just about killed me when he saw them. He said, you don't have a choice, just put them on. And so we reffed, and when that game was over, that weekend was over, he said, let's clean them off, let's take them back. I still have those cleats. They're still in my closet. And I didn't write this down, but I was telling Kevin about that weekend that the girls and I, we were doing a game, and I think it might have been a semifinal, maybe a final, I'm not sure, but we were doing a boys team from Rialto. We got coached by a referee crew that had warned us, oh, you guys are going to have a rough time with this team. I'm telling you. They looked at Mike, you better do the center. And I said, no, it's my turn. He had already done the center. I said, we got this. And I put Mike on the side by the mean coach, Rialto. And I didn't have to worry about that game because Mike just chatted him up and complimented him on his team uniforms and complimented the wives that were sitting there. And, I don't even think he paid attention to the game because he was helping me out, but keeping him, off my back. But we got more compliments on that game probably because, he smoothed it over on the sideline. But talking about forgetting things, we also went to Palm Springs and the girls were out their bathing suits. And I happened to have my daughter there with, I think she was 8 or 9, and she just thought it was so cool that the girls went in their bras and underwear, so she went in hers too. So we went swimming in their sports bras, I think, maybe, and their underwear in the middle of Palm Springs at our hotel. And Mike just had such a infectious personality, and I just admired the relationship that you guys had with him. And for the past 4 years, I spoke with him probably every month, once a month, we talk. And like I said, it's always over an hour. I mean, you're at the grocery store checking out, and you still got him in the middle. We just kept going. I'd go home, and I was making dinner, and I'd already been on the phone.